Hey guys, it's Mrs. Longmire. In today's reading lesson, we're going to build on what we learned about last time about how readers make inferences, and you take those details from the reading voice details and plus the thinking voice details, what your thinking voice is telling you that it all means, and you come up with a brand new idea. And we're going to build on this today and actually use real text, which text could be a book. Text could be a story on an iPad or on a Chromebook. Text can be lots of different things, but we're going to take the text plus the reading voice that's reading the words and the details in the pictures, plus the thinking voice that's telling you what it all means, and we're going to come up with a brand new idea. And we did this earlier with an image. And so, like when we were looking at the picture of Lola, my daughter, with her elf on the shelves in the car, remember that picture? And they had their seatbelts on. So we were looking at lots of different details. First, we looked at Lola, and we could tell that she was a girl, and she was probably 6 or 7 in the picture, and she was happy and smiling. And then we zoomed in on the elves in the back seat, and we saw that there were 5 elves, and they all had seatbelts on, so we could tell that they were in the van, and we were just looking at all of those details. And we were also using our thinking voice at the same time. We were thinking about how we were starting to put patterns together and looking how things go together. Like she was in a car, and they had a note that was telling them, asking them to go to school. And so we were also using the patterns and putting these together and seeing how they all fit together. And we came up with, oh, she must be going to school. And the elves wanted to go with her to school. So we're actually in the car with her. And then we used some memories. We talked about how some of you knew about elves on the shelf and how it must be about Christmas time because the elves appear at Christmas time. And we knew that you couldn't touch the elves. So they really couldn't go into school with her, but they were riding along in the car. And so you had some memories of elves on the shelf. So it made us come up with different thoughts. And we started to put all the patterns together. And finally, we came up with our inference, our brand new idea that we had it figured out that these elves, it was about Christmas time, and they were all in the car, and they wanted to go to school with Lola, and we put everything together to figure out what was happening in the image. And so that's what we're going to do today, only today we're actually going to use a book. And the book that we're going to use is one of my very favorites, Clothesline Clues to Jobs People Do. And we are going to be, just like we did with our magnifying glass, we're going to be zooming into different parts of the picture. And also there's words today, where the other day we just used images. Today we're actually going to zoom in on some words too. And we're going to start to see patterns and put things together. And then you're going to have some memories because some of these jobs you're going to know about. And so you're going to already have memories up in your head, helping you to figure out what it all means. And we'll put it all together to come up with a brand new idea that the author doesn't tell us about. Okay? So this is on Epic, and I know we've used Epic before. And so when you go into Epic and you go to this Clothesline Clues, I found a couple of pages that we're going to use together. Okay? So I'm going to use my reading voice and collect details, and then we'll start to use our thinking voice and start to put some of those things together to come up with a new thought. Okay, so it says oven mitts, apron, recipe for stew, puffy hat and whisk, what job does he do? Okay, and then you can see in the picture, I see oven mitts, I see an apron, I see a whisk, I see a recipe in the little bird's mouth for stew, and I see a puffy hat on the clothesline. Okay, so now let's start to put our reading voice details on our chart. And I love how it's a big head because the details that we collect, the details that we see that our reading voice says are going to go on the outside of the head because it's what we see and we collect those details. So when we put our details, our reading voice details, they're going to go on the outside. But you know, that thinking voice that's taking all of those clues and starting to think about what it all means, that thinking voice, those are going to be on yellow sticky notes, and those are going to go on the inside of the head. So the reading voice details will be on green sticky notes, and they'll go on the outside because it's what we see. But then those yellow sticky notes, our thinking voice, that's going to go on the inside because it's what we're thinking up in our head. Okay? So let's try this. So oven mitts was the first oven mitts. And so if I put that up here, and I drew a picture of oven mitts, so you can see that's one of the details that goes on the outside because I read that detail. The next one is apron. And I can look at the picture and see what the apron looks like, right? And that's also, and I drew a picture of the apron, and that's going to go on the outside because that's our reading voice. We're reading that. Oven mitts, apron, recipe for stew. So recipe is another detail that I'm going to put on the outside. And I drew a picture of a recipe with steps 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. Puffy hat. Okay, and we can see the picture of the puffy hat also. Puffy hat, and there's a picture of the puffy hat. It's going to be a detail that goes on the outside because I'm still using my reading voice. Puffy hat and whisk. Whisk, and I drew a picture of the whisk. It's a tool, but that's the word that I'm reading. It's going to go on the outside. So what job does he do? That's the question that we're going to have to try to figure out. The new thought is the job that he does. So now let's start to use our thinking voice. When I look at oven mitts, I know that oven mitts are used for, let me use my, I've used those before when you're getting something hot, like out of the oven or the stove, so you don't burn your hand. They sort of protect your hand. But when you're using oven mitts, that means you're holding hot things. And I drew fire there. So that's the thinking voice that's going on in my head when I read the word oven mitts. And then for apron, well, I know that, let me use my thinking voice. I know that when I wear an apron, and I'm a really, really messy cook. So when I wear an apron, it helps me stay clean and not get so messy, right? And so don't get messy. That's why you wear an apron. So you don't get messy. And look, if you don't have an apron on, she spilled some on her shirt. So that's my thinking voice that's going to go with apron. And then for recipe, I know with a recipe, you have to follow directions. And it kind of tells you, and if you don't follow directions, then it can be a big disaster. And it won't taste very good, or it won't have all the ingredients it needs. It won't be good, right? So I know with a recipe, you have to follow directions. You have to go in order, step by step, and do exactly what it says. So that's the thinking voice. I know I have to follow directions. I know I don't want to get messy. I know this person could be holding hot things. They don't want to get messy. They're going to follow directions. So the next one, so my thinking, and also for my thinking voice, you want the food to turn out perfect, right? That's why you would use a recipe. You're going to follow the directions, but also I have another thought about that. You want to make sure the food turns out perfect and yummy, right? So I'm going to sort of put those together there. Okay. And then the puffy hat. Now, my thinking voice about the puffy hat is I know fancy cooks wear hats like that when they're cooking. So I'm going to put fancy cooks, and I've got the little cook wearing a hat. And then the whisk, I know that that's a special tool that cooks use to whisk or mix things up. It's a special cooking tool. And so now I remember I've got to start to see patterns and kind of put things together. So if they're wearing, I know fancy cooks wear hats and use tools. So I'm going to put that there. And then holding hot things, that You know, that kind of goes with tools there. So if I start to put, it's somebody that uses special cooking tools and holds hot things, and they don't want to get really that messy, and they're going to follow directions and use a recipe. That's sort of like a tool too. So if I put all that together to come up with a brand new thought, I think it's a cook. Or a fancy word for saying that is a chef. So I'm going to put my new thought on pink, just like our inference over here. Remember, that's that brand new idea. And it says, he is a chef. That's my inference. After I start to put some of these things together, they're using cooking tools, and they don't want to get messy, and they want the food to turn out perfectly. I bet you he is a chef. Let's check. And so if you click on it and turn the page, he is a chef. I was right. And that's what good readers do. They take all the clues, things that the words say, and the details of what the words say and the pictures say, and then they think about it. And I had used a whisk before, or an apron before, or a recipe. And so I put all of those thoughts with all those details, and I came up with a brand new thought or inference. You guys want to try it now? I bet you can do it. So now I need to take off all of these sticky notes so that we can get it all cleared off. Our head here, our silhouette head. And you guys can try it with me now. And so we're just going to turn the page, a couple of pages in the book here. Hold on. 1 second. Okay. So now we're going to use, and I'll still be your reading voice. I'll still read the words for you. And then I'll let you help me use our thinking voice, and then put it all together and make a new thought. Okay. So heavy pants, helmet, wide suspenders too, rescue coat, long hose. What job does she do? Okay, so if we get out our magnifying glasses and we zoom in, and we can even look at the picture, heavy pants. So if we zoom in to the pants there, heavy pants, that's going to be one of the details. Next, helmet. And that's going to be another reading voice detail. We're just reading what's on the page, right? Heavy pants, helmet, wide suspenders. Oh, also with the helmet, I see in the picture a little fire symbol. So I'm going to add fire picture on helmet. That's what I read in the picture. I see a picture of a fire on the helmet. So I'm going to add that as my reading voice. The next one, wide suspenders. And I can look at the picture there. There's big, thick suspenders there. Rescue coat. And I drew all these pictures with it. A rescue coat. There's the suspenders and the heavy pants and the fire picture. Okay. So I have heavy pants, helmet, the fire picture on the helmet, the wide suspenders, and the rescue coat, and the long hose. I need that one. Long hose. Long hose. And then I drew a picture of the long hose. Okay. Those are all the text details and the picture details. That was using my reading voice. Now I need your help to help me use our thinking voice. Okay. So for heavy pants, think about for a minute what that would mean and why someone would need heavy pants. Use your thinking voice. Were you thinking it protects your legs? If you have heavy, thick pants, it kind of protects your legs from something, right? Okay, helmet was the next one. And we know a helmet protects head, right? It protects, you can wear a helmet on. Let's use some of our memory for a minute. Why else would you need a helmet? Or when else would you use a helmet? Yeah, on a bike ride. Yeah. Or if you play baseball or softball, you wear a helmet. And why do you use it? Yeah, it protects your head. It keeps your head safe, doesn't it? And then the fire on the helmet. What do you think that could mean? Think about it. Were you thinking the helmet might protect you from fire? Yeah, it protects your head from fire. That's what my thinking voice was saying too. Okay, let's move over to wide suspenders. Think about that for a minute. Why would you need wide suspenders? Do you know what suspenders are? Think about it. Yeah. Suspenders are those things that hold up your pants, especially if you have big pants, right? So they would hold up the heavy pants. Is that what you were thinking? Yeah. They're going to hold up the heavy pants. And the rescue coat? Think about that word rescue. What does that mean? Use your thinking voice. Yeah. Rescue is saving someone, right? When you rescue someone, you save them. So if they're wearing a coat, a rescue coat, they must be saving somebody, right? And long hose. Think about why you would want a long hose. Use your thinking voice. Are you thinking so it can stretch a long, long way? Yeah. So maybe if it's a fire truck, it could go a long way to reach the house, right? That's why you would need a long hose. So let's start to put some of these clues or details together and start to look for patterns and then use some of our memory, some of our thoughts that we have. Okay, so there's a lot about protecting head and protecting legs, something that needs protection. And then this one, protect head from fire. So we're protecting things from a fire and holding up heavy pants. That kind of goes with the pants. So holding up heavy protective pants and a helmet to protect your head from fire, and you're rescuing someone. That kind of if you're rescuing or saving someone, and you may have to stretch it the hose may have to stretch a long, long, long way. So we put all those clues together. Do you know what this job could be? Use your thinking voice. What do you think? Did you think she might be a firefighter? So did I. So that's on pink. She is a firefighter because that's our new thought. Did the author tell us she was a firefighter yet? No. We had to use the reading voice, the words and the pictures, and then all those thinking voice thoughts on yellow, and we put it together to come up with a brand new idea. She is a firefighter. Should we check to see if we're right? Let's turn the page. She is a firefighter. We were right, weren't we? We're checking ourselves. Good readers do that. They check themselves to make sure that they're right. Okay, so if you were in Mrs. Longmire's class, I would have you keep reading the rest of the pages in this book. Clothesline clues for jobs people do on Epic. And I'll have the link in with this video so that you can click on that and you can go and you can read the rest of the book. But I want you to be using both your reading voice and your thinking voice and putting those things together so you can come up with a brand new idea. And I want you to come up with that brand new idea before you turn the page and then see if you're right. So that's what I would have you do if you were in Mrs. Longmire's class. But your teacher could have a better idea.